Hey guys, welcome. I just wanted to come on here really quick and I'm going to give some updates about the MMR and measles. I was just tagged in a post that was so ridiculous about measles fear that I wanted to come on here and talk. So I'll wait for a couple people to jump on. It's such a random time for Facebook Live. I don't even know what time it is. Let's see, it's almost 12 p.m. Pacific time. So maybe those that are on a lunch break will tune into this, but you can definitely watch the recording. Oh, hey guys, hi. I see some eyeballs. Okay, so I just was tagged in just a ridiculous post that NPR had put out about getting the MMR vaccine and how getting the measles virus. Hi, Britt. Baby trapped. My baby's sleeping. That's the only reason. I'm actually sitting here doing work non-related to vaccine stuff, and it's like I'm constantly getting tagged in stuff. So I just wanted to come on here, and there's so much false information. So I really need, oh my gosh, my friend Janelle is on. Hi, Janelle. I just called you out on Facebook. I love you, girl. Thank you for tuning in. This is important for you. So let's talk about measles and let's talk about the MMR because there's so much fear being programmed into parents about measles. So I just really want to break down some of the things that are hidden in plain sight, but they're absolutely there, and the pharmaceutical companies are very aware because this is their legal documents that they print regarding the MMR vaccine. But anyways, this ridiculous NPR post that I was tagged in, the lady was basically saying, you know, go out and get your MMR vaccine because getting measles protects against other debilitating diseases later on in life. Now, that statement would be true only if you were exposed to natural measles. The MMR vaccine is not the same as natural measles. First of all, there's about 27 different strains of measles that are known in the world. And the vaccine, the MMR that's currently on the market, I think it only protects, there's like, it's like AB or BA or something like that. There's some acronym for the strain that it protects against. So there's multiple different strains of measles, which most people don't know that. However, the CDC and the FDA doesn't really want you to know that because people would start to question, well, hey, what about this, the wild measles stuff? And we know that the MMR vaccine is highly ineffective. We also know that the MMR vaccine sheds. So I'm going to talk about shedding. I get tons and tons of questions about which vaccine sheds, what shedding is. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I actually have pulled up the MMR Package Insert. So I'm going to be reading some of the actual legal documentation about this vaccine to you guys. And this is actually what you're supposed to receive before you decide if a vaccination is actually the right medical choice for your child. You are actually supposed to sit with your medical professional and they're supposed to read the insert with you. Now, the insert for the MMR vaccine is about 25 pages long, I think. Don't quote me on that number, but it is pages and pages here. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. No, it is 11 pages long, okay? If you go into the Merck manual, you can go into more of the science and the scientific studies behind the MMR, and that's a little bit longer of a document, but this is an 11-page document that you should be given before you decide if the MMR is right for your child. However, nobody receives it ever, and I'm sure lots and lots of people on the feed that their children have been injured by the MMR did not receive this, okay? So let's talk about, first of all, that it's a live virus vaccine. When a vaccine is a live virus, the live vaccine viruses that are currently on the market right now are the MMR, the varicella, which varicella is for chickenpox. I'm not going to get into the details of that vaccine, but that is also live. And we also have the flu vaccine can shed a little bit, but that's a little bit different. And the DTaP the person that receives the DTaP can be asymptomatic to having pertussis and actually then spread the disease onto other people. But that's a separate thing. It's not a live virus vaccine. So the MMR and the varicella are the two that are live. And they will actually talk about in the inserts that you can actually catch the measles virus from somebody that was newly vaccinated. And actually Johns Hopkins medical facility used to have, I think they've taken it down now because it went viral all over, and then they're like, oh, this is bad PR for the vaccine agenda. They took it down. They used to have a warning in the immunocompromised division, like so the cancer patients, people that couldn't be around sick people, it would say, if you are newly vaccinated, you cannot come into this ward of the hospital. So Vaccine shedding is nothing new. The government and the media try to cover it up, but we know that when you are injected with a live virus, you can then shed that virus off onto other people. You've been infected with the actual disease that you probably would have never caught had you not been vaccinated with it, but that's a side issue. So going back to the post that I was tagged in, this lady was going on and on about, people need to get their kids vaccinated. And when you get the measles vaccine, it protects you from other diseases. No, it doesn't. That's for live natural immunity. If I catch natural measles, I will have lifelong immunity. Your child will have lifelong immunity. And let's just go back to the 50s and 60s, you guys. Measles used to be talked about in multiple children's books. We were just at the library recently, and my daughter pulled a book out, and it was talking about Sally had the measles. Like, not a big deal. Sally had the measles. I had the chicken pox. So did you. We all lived. Like, it's a 4 to 5 day rash for any healthy, normal person. Could measles potentially kill someone if you have a compromised immune system? Yes, the common cold could kill someone if you had an extremely compromised immune system. So pharma takes these little sound bites of things that they know that scare people, and they put it out there, and it's, now measles kill. Nobody's died from measles in like 15 years in our country, but over 108 children have died from the MMR, and that's less than 1% that even gets documented through the vaccine adverse event reporting system. And thousands and thousands and thousands have been permanently injured, permanently brain damaged, all sorts of things. So I want to read you guys some of the documented reactions that come with the MMR vaccine. So what I've been trying to encourage a lot of parents to think about is we're so programmed to fear quote unquote vaccine preventable diseases, right? But what we should really be questioning and fearing is vaccine caused diseases. Like the diseases that vaccines cause and that are legally binding, like documented in the legal information about the vaccines, they're so much scarier than getting the regular disease or illness that the vaccine is supposed to protect, okay? So the reason parents aren't aware of this is because no one's showing you guys this stuff. So you have to read, you have to wake up, you have to be educated and go, wait a second, what are you injecting into my kid? And let me ask you some questions about this before I say yes or no. That's called informed consent, people. You need to really wrap your mind around the fact that you're being medically experimented on. Okay, so I'm just gonna read some of these to you guys. This is this is public information. You can go on the FDA website, you can go on the CDC website, you can Google MMR Vaccine Insert, pull it up, read it for yourself, okay? So for the people that come on here later and try to argue with me, it means they've never read it. So hold on, I just lost my page. So let me get this up. Okay, so it also talks about that if you're nursing and you ever got this shot, that you can actually transfer Rubella, the Rubella virus, which is in the MMR, so measles, mumps, and Rubella. So what you have to understand is when you're getting vaccinated for measles, you're also getting vaccinated for 2 other diseases, Rubella and mumps. Those are not the live virus vaccine part, just the measles is live. But the mumps vaccine portion of the MMR, Merck is being sued in federal court from a whistleblower that came forward saying that the mumps portion of the MMR was fraudulent. They didn't do enough safety testing. They knew it was defective before they put it on the market. This is a perfect example of why the Harvard mumps outbreak, 100% of those students were fully vaccinated. And what did the media say? Oh, go out and get your booster shots. Like, not maybe that their product was fraudulent and they just put it on the market without proper safety testing, so it wasn't working. Okay, so it also goes on to talk about hypersensitivity to any of the components in the vaccine. If your child is allergic, has a susceptibility to egg protein, the MMR is grown on egg protein, it actually talks about that your child, you should be very, very cautious. If your child has had anaphylaxis or some allergies from egg, they shouldn't necessarily be vaccinated with the MMR. But then in the very next sentence, it talks about, oh, it's probably totally safe if they were. But you guys, food allergies is a really huge situation. If your child was severely allergic to egg and you didn't know that there's egg protein in an MMR, and you take your child in there, first of all, this is happening all the time. You take your child in there, the doctor doesn't sit you down and say, hey, is your child allergic to egg? Is your child allergic to formaldehyde? Is your child allergic to, there's no aluminum in the MMR, but there are in multiple other vaccines, and these vaccines are being given multiple times, 7, 8, 9 vaccines at once. It's absolutely ridiculous. So in the insert, it talks about if your child has egg sensitivities, to be cautious that this actually could put a child into anaphylaxis from the egg allergy. So right then and there, we can never have a mandated vaccine law, guys, when we have kids that have food allergies that can't even go to a restaurant and eat out, but they can walk into a doctor's office and get shot up with the same crap. It's absolutely ridiculous. So it talks about that. It talks about sensitivities to gelatin. If someone is, sensitive to gelatin, they should be careful. And so it goes on to talk about anaphylaxis. It talks about febrile respiratory illnesses. It goes down and talks about all the different reactions. So did you guys know that the MMR can actually cause diabetes? Did anyone ever tell you that? Did your doctor sit down and say that the MMR can cause diabetes? Because we have an epidemic of diabetes in our culture in young children. And were you ever aware that the MMR, so you're afraid of measles, but are you more afraid of diabetes? Are you more afraid of your child? Measles is a 4 to 5 day rash, okay, with a little fever, and your kid has lifelong immunity. Why are you scared of that? Why don't you trust in the body to be able to protect itself against an illness, and you boost your kid's immune system when they're sick? You should be so much more scared of diabetes. Now, this is type 1. Type 2 is a lifestyle disease, right? So type 1, they have that for the rest of their life, diabetes. Oh my gosh, just that alone right there should make you really, really question. It also says animal production studies have not been conducted with the MMR. It is also not known whether MMR2 can cause fetal harm when administered to a pregnant woman or can affect reproduction capacity. Okay, so let's just break that down for a second. They don't know long-term if it can cause reproductive capacity. So we're injecting our babies with this starting at age 1 to 18 months. They're going to get a couple doses of the MMR, and we have no idea if long-term this is going to affect their reproduction later on in life when they want to procreate. Don't you think that's something important to study? And just so you guys know, every single vaccine that's currently on the market, wow, there's a lot of people on the feed. I just looked at the number. Thanks, guys, for joining. Every single vaccine that's on the market has not been tested for mutagenic, carcinogenic, or reproductive issues. Every single vaccine. It's listed on the insert. It's very clearly there, but you're not seeing the insert, so you don't know this. So you're blindly going into the doctor. You're paying them money to inject you with something that could really, really, really harm your child. Okay, diabetes, reproductive issues. Right there, right then and there, as a parent, I'd be like, dude, I'm out. If a doctor sat you down and said, hey, I'm going to give you this little shot. It's going to protect your kid against a rash that they might never get. It's going to be an annoying rash. They might have a high fever. They might be a little bit uncomfortable for a couple days, but it's going to pass. And then they would, if they got it naturally, they'd have lifelong immunity to it. But instead, I'm recommending this shot. Now, this shot has severe warnings with it. It hasn't been properly tested. The company that produces it is being sued in federal court. The scientists that have actually done the studies on it have come forward saying that they committed scientific fraud, okay, which they did. Dr. William Thompson, he was the main scientist that did the CDC testing, showing that the MMR was safe and didn't cause autism. He has come forward with 10,000 documents showing that the CDC, in fact, committed scientific fraud. Okay, this has been going on for years. If you haven't watched the film Vax, if you haven't watched Senator or Congressman Bill Posey testify in front of the House of Representatives, this is real news, guys. This isn't fake stuff made up on social media. This is real. You can pull these documents. You can read about it. He came forward and said, look, we committed fraud. The CDC covered this up, back in the early 2000s. We knew that the MMR was causing autism. We put, all this stuff, right? So let's just not even get into autism because people want to argue about that. But the documents are there. So just going through, so it can cause diabetes. It can cause anaphylaxis. It can cause respiratory issues. It hasn't been tested in animals, so we don't really know what the heck it's doing. It hasn't been tested for carcinogenicity. I can't even say that word. And then I'm just going to read all of this stuff to you. Okay. So cardiovascular symptom, digestive symptom, pancreatitis, diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, endocrine system, diabetes. It's listed right there. It goes through this. There's something here that's a really long word, but it's like a blood disorder, immune system functions, muscular skeletal system functions, arthritis. Okay, so measles, the MMR vaccine can cause arthritis. Do you want your kid to have arthritis? I mean, that's a massive inflammatory autoimmune response, and that is terrible. And can you ever get rid of that? Like, is it reversible? I don't know. Diabetes isn't chronic arthritis pain as a child. Like, you have to think about, like, when these kids get vaccinated and they're screaming for hours and the parents are like, why, I just took them to the doctor, they were totally fine, like, what's going on, why are they in so much pain? I mean, hundreds of thousands of stories of these guys all over the world, and the parents are saying the same thing, and then all of a sudden their kid starts banging their head into the wall, they start pooping on themselves, they start vomiting. Like, it's all right here in the insert. It's so outrageous. Like, it just makes me so mad. And I had to come on here and talk about it because every day kids are being poisoned with this stuff. So encephalitis, here's really what I wanted to get into. So encephalitis is brain swelling. Okay. Autism is a behavioral diagnosis. There's a spectrum, as we know. There's different levels of that spectrum, but autism is the behavioral diagnosis of the brain damage that's going on in that child, right? And so encephalitis is brain swelling, which leads to brain damage, which then causes autism. Like, it's still listed on the inserts. They just don't use the tag words that are really, not trendy, but it's the emotional tag words they've taken out. Instead of SIDS, they say apnea. Apnea is where you stop breathing. Same thing as SIDS, guys. They say encephalitis, brain swelling. That's the precursor to autism. It's called brain damage. Again, if your doctor sat down, and here's the thing, regular measles virus can induce a very, very high fever, which potentially could lead to brain swelling, encephalitis, and brain damage if you let the fever get that high, if your child got natural measles. Okay, would you rather take the chances of the body naturally going into that, or would you rather push the body into it and force the body into that high fever and cause it? As a parent, I have three kids, 3 children that I would give my life for. I would much rather take the chances of, if they were ever exposed to natural measles, being able to monitor their health, monitor their body, bring their fever down accordingly, and not let it raise. It's just outrageous. But no, we're just going to inject this into the kid. We're just going to do this because the pharmaceutical companies said that we should do it. So going through that, then there's something called GBS, which is Guillain-Barre Syndrome, okay? GBS is one of the top vaccine injuries that are documented, that are paid out through the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program that you pay for when you buy these vaccines. You're paying for other people's deaths and injuries. So you need to know that. I talk about this all the time. I've done lives on it. You can go back in my pages and find the lives where I've talked about the laws and stuff. But Guillain-Barre is modern day polio, people. It's paralysis, it's nerve damage. It's where you stop, your nervous system is disrupted and you become paralyzed. Now, it might be on part of your body, it might be on your face, like whatever it is. And some people come out of GBS and some people don't. Some people are paralyzed forever from Guillain-Barre, from the flu shot. I mean, you can get Guillain-Barre from, I think, almost every single vaccine on the market. It's listed in most of the inserts that I've read. And if you go back in history and you study polio, we're not going to get on a polio topic, but the CDC reclassified polio out of existence and they renamed it a bunch of different diseases. And guess what one of them was? Guillain-Barre. Guillain-Barre. People say it different ways. Okay, so maybe I don't say it properly, but GBS, Guillain-Barre Syndrome, or whatever it's called. It's where you go paralyzed from vaccines, okay? And it's the number one thing that's paid out through the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, like I mentioned. So these are real illnesses, diseases caused from vaccines, okay? So again, be more afraid of the vaccine-induced disease, illness, than the thing that you are thinking you're protecting your kid against, because you're not. And the CDC will even come out and say that vaccine immunity wears every 5 to 8 years. So the MMR vaccine isn't even good for a lifetime. So just think about this. Like, you're taking your precious little child in there and you're trusting in the doctor that's telling you that this shot is going to protect them. But it really quote unquote only protects them for a couple years based on the science that they actually have. And we know that vaccines are very ineffective because, 100% vaccinated populations get these diseases all the time. For some reason, unvaccinated children are still blamed for it. Somehow that always happens, but it's still there. So again, they're saying, you got to come back and do this every 5 to 6 years. You're going to have to come back and get another shot and another shot. And every time you're re-exposing your child to all of these other diseases, every time you're playing Russian roulette with a loaded gun, like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like, literally, just logically, step outside the fear, you guys. Step outside of it and just ask yourself, if it was any other product that you haven't been brainwashed to believe in, would you accept this as truth? Or would you stop and go, you know what? This sounds very strange to me, and I'm thinking logically. I'm not thinking from fear. See, here's how pharma controls all of this. They make you really afraid of something, just like the flu shot. They make you really afraid of the flu, like, oh, you're going to die from the flu. Like, how many times has everyone on the feed had the flu in their life and like they're still here breathing? Like, get over it, people. You're going to be fine. Take some cayenne pepper, have some vitamin C, like, take care of your body. You're going to be fine. Okay. But people, they need to sell these products. They have to sell these products. These products cost them millions of dollars to make, but guess what? They make billions from them. Actually, vaccines are very, very cheap to manufacture. They are the most profitable arm of the pharmaceutical industry. And the reason being is because of the 1986 Childhood Vaccine Injury Protection Act. If you haven't read it, read it. I say it over and over again until I'm blue in the face on here. Read the law. You'll be floored. You'll be like, how is this a law? This is so corrupt. They don't have to have proper safety testing. They're not liable if anyone gets hurt or injured. Like, what the hell? Like, what other product would you allow your kid to take? Not only just take, like, you guys are injecting this shit into their muscle. You're injecting it into their body, okay? And we know that the chemicals in vaccines, they're not secreted through the digestive system because it's getting injected. You're not eating it, you're injecting it. So it's not coming out in the poop. It's not coming out in the urine. Where are these chemicals going? Boop, into the brain. They go into the brain. They get stuck in the brain. And the best visual of this that I've ever heard from anyone was Dr. Lawrence Pulaski, and he said it's like a ghost walking through a wall. The chemicals in vaccines are like a ghost walking through a wall into your child's brain, just like this, like in there, okay? So if you're buying your organic apples and your organic milk and all this stuff, and then you're walking in to get the MMR vaccine, like, please wake up and understand, you guys, what's happening. So I really encourage all of you to go through this and to read an insert. Here's the other thing, pneumonia, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. What the heck is that? What is Stevens-Johnson syndrome? That's listed in the inserts. I'm going to Google it after this live because I don't even know what that is. And it says right here, measles-like rash, pertussis, swelling, irritation, tenderness, blah, 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 blah. Acute hemorrhagic edema of infancy. What is that? That sounds super scary. Acute hemorrhagic edema of infancy. Like, so you see they use all these like crazy words, guys, so that you're just like, what? The other thing, nerve deafness. Did you know that MMR can cause your child to be deaf? It can. I've actually talked to several families this has happened to. I had a dad in Hungary reach out to me recently. Both his daughters were vaccinated with the MMR. They were both severely injured. One stopped talking, the other one turned deaf. Did your doctor ever tell you that it could cause that? Because it's listed on the insert. Issues with eyes. It can cause conjunctivitis, that's pink eye. I mean, that's so weird. How does it even cause that? But it's there. I got a call. Sorry, I had a phone call. Okay, the other thing is death. Listed right on the insert. Death from various and in some cases unknown causes have been reportedly rare following vaccination with measles. I don't want to say it's super common with the MMR. It's very common with the hepatitis B vaccine. Death is very common with the hepatitis B vaccine because it's given so young. But we know over 108 kids have died from the measles vaccine, and that is documented. Now, those are just the ones that are documented. There's lots of other parents that don't even know, like all of a sudden their kid gets sick and they die and they don't know that it was from the MMR that they got a couple weeks ago. So it says here, death from various blah, blah, blah. However, a causal relationship has not been reported and published in post-marketing surveillance, blah, 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 blah. So basically, they just refuse to do the studies. They refuse to go in and see how many people are actually dying from the MMR after, how many kids are getting 8 or 9 vaccines at one time and then dying. Like, they're not tracking that stuff, you guys, because they don't want you to know those statistics. They don't want you to know those facts. And then at the end, it says, under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, healthcare providers and manufacturers are required to record and report certain suspected adverse events occurring within specific time periods after vaccination. Then it says, however, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has established the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which is what I was referring to earlier, and you can file a report there. So physicians are supposed to document anything that happens in their office that they're aware of. However, here's what I know, because my phone rings off the hook with parents that are calling to tell me their vaccine injury stories because their doctors won't freaking listen to them, and they will just tell them it's normal. That's a coincidence. Or they'll say that didn't really happen to your child. Oh, your child is having seizures? That's normal. Seizures are normal. Now, seizures are listed on this insert as well as the varicella. Actually, the varicella insert, which is the chickenpox insert, it'll actually say if you have a family history of seizures, you should never be vaccinated with this vaccine. Or a history of jerking, twitching, like, oh my gosh, you guys, it's so sad when you see people tag me in videos all the time on Facebook of children having seizures. Like, I know that's a terrible visual, and it's something that really has negatively affected my life. Like, I literally feel like I have PTSD from some of the stuff I've seen in the movement. But people will tag me in videos of babies seizing because, like, they don't know what else to do, and the baby's like sitting there like having a seizure. And the mom's posting on Facebook saying, I don't know what happened. We just took the baby to the well baby checkup and she got her vaccines and she was fine. And all of a sudden, so we do know from the CDC whistleblower documentation that they also know that the MMR causes ticks. So if you have a child that has ticks or nervous ticks, they knew that. They had that data a long, long time ago, and they covered that up with the MMR autism connection. And there's a couple things, if you haven't seen the movie Vax, because there's so many people on this feed right now, just watch it because it's literally word for word, like it's their emails, it's the CDC emails, like people didn't make this up. This is their private emails, their documents, their testimony from Dr. William Thompson. You see the emails from Julie Gerberding, who was the head of the CDC back in the day, who later, by the way, after all of this happened, after she refused to stop the poisoning of our children, guess where she got a job? Merck. Merck hired her. Merck is the maker of the MMR vaccine. She got a $2 million position, $2 million a year to sit on the head of Merck. So conflict of interest much. She was the head of our CDC department, and then the top pharmaceutical company that hired her to do these fraudulent tests, she got a position there. Like, are you kidding me? She should be in jail for murder, manslaughter. She's a sick woman, and she just got like, Merck gave her some award in New York a couple weeks ago. Activists were going to show up there and freak out and, like, I don't even know, yell at her or whatever. But she got like Woman of the Year. Woman of the Year. You're okay with poisoning babies. You're okay with having scientific data that you should have given to the American public 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you sat there on your ass and you did nothing. And now we have a whole generation of children that is continually being poisoned and has been poisoned with this product. I mean, this is just one vaccine, guys. I could do a live on every single vaccine on the CDC schedule and break it down for you guys like this. But my point of coming on here today was I'm so tired of getting tagged in posts where people are like spreading propaganda about being afraid of measles. Like, be afraid of the science that is not there. Be afraid of the fact that our federal agencies that are built to protect us have been overtaken by special interests. Be afraid of that, okay? Be afraid of the fact that your media is controlled by these companies. Your media is controlled. Like, this won't ever be on the news because the pharmaceutical industry owns Fox. They own CNN. And if you don't believe me, watch TV. Every 5 seconds, there's an ad for what? Drugs. Because they're the top supporter, the top advertiser for these outlets, media outlets. So of course they own the news that can't even talk about this stuff. We have thousands of doctors that would gosh, I keep getting phone calls. It keeps interrupting it. But we have thousands of doctors in the movement that would be happy to go on television and talk about what's really happening to vaccine-injured families and what's really happening in doctors' offices. And guess what? No, they won't ever cover it because it's fake news, because it's bot news, just like our science is bot. So if it's just like, I get fired up about it because at the end of the day, like, if you don't read the stuff, like, you can't expect your doctor to read this. They should. They're probably not going to because they trust in the CDC and they're going to tell you you're crazy, but you should be smart enough to go online and read these things. This stuff is going into your kid. And I didn't even get into, actually, maybe I will for a second. I'll talk about the fact that the MMR has aborted human DNA tissue in it. Aborted human tissue in it. It's listed right on the website. You can go to the CDC excipient list. You can pull the MMR and you can read that there is aborted human tissue in the vaccine. Now, let me ask you this question. Where are the scientific studies anywhere in the world showing that injecting other human DNA into a growing baby is safe? Where are those studies? Have they done them? Have they looked into it? Do they know long-term, like cellularly, metabolically, like what does that do to a baby? They don't. They have never, ever, ever, ever done that study, you guys. Okay, so let's just talk about that biologically. We actually teach this in our vaccine class, and my friend Dr. H is brilliant. He's actually the first person that said it to me this way, and I was so disturbed by it when he said it. But I was like, oh my gosh, he's so right. That's so gross. When you inject human DNA into another human body, the body has to metabolize it. The body has to try to figure it out, right? Like figure out what the heck just got injected into them. That's a form of cannibalism. Okay, now, whoa, you might be like, Britt, okay, that's like too much, right? That's too much for my brain to like take in this one live, but it is. Metabolically, it is. It's a form of cannibalism. And like, parents have no idea, and they're buying this product. Like, you buy this product. You buy it. You go in there, you pay your hard-earned money to buy this product, and it's so far from anything that could possibly be safe. It is so far from safe, you guys. There is no safety testing showing that injecting other babies' tissue into babies' tissue is normal. Like, in what freaking planet are we on that we've accepted that as healthcare? That's healthcare. I don't want that healthcare for my family. No, thank you. I will opt out of that, and I will absolutely fight until they come and kill me, because that is disgusting. And number one, that is against my religious belief. That is against anything that I was created from divinely. Like, I don't want to be injecting dead babies into my baby. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the best we have in science and nature? Really? Like, no, it's not. Like, it's just a scam. It's such a scam, and you've been bamboozled. Like, on you guys, we've all been bamboozled. And instead of being mad at parents that don't want to vaccinate anymore, start questioning, start going, well, why? Well, why would you not want to? And learn from these people. The people that are not vaccinating, you guys, have done research. Ooh, Facebook doesn't like this. There's a lot of people on. I just got like, it's trying to block the post. We've got 600 people on the feed. So sometimes when over 500 get on, it'll start saying I don't have good internet connection, and then sometimes it just cuts me off. But if it does, then you know what happened. Anyways, we were talking about the aborted fetal tissue, and I'll wrap this up in a second. But did your doctor tell you that? Your doctor doesn't even know that, first of all. Most doctors don't. My pediatrician, who's awesome, and she's very, very much like doesn't believe in giving vaccines. She's amazing. She's very brilliant. I actually talked to her about the aborted human tissue, and she didn't know. She's like, really? I'm going to look into that. Like, that's so disturbing. Like, that's disgusting. Like, I'm so glad that you knew that. Like, how do you not freaking know that? Because they're not taught it in medical school. They don't ever get a list of ingredients. They don't go over each ingredient. Don't you think that a physician that's injecting this stuff into other humans, especially our precious, precious babies, our youth, should understand every single ingredient in that product, understand the ramifications of every single ingredient in that product, where that product comes from, how it's made, how it's manufactured, the science behind it, all of those things. Like, a doctor should know that like the back of their hand before they ever give a vaccine, but they don't know any of it. Like, they are taught zero in medical school. And go ask an MD, like go ask a pediatrician, like, hey, how much training did you get on vaccine ingredients in medical school? Just let them answer. Ask your ped that next time you're in there. Just go, and they'll be like, oh, blah, 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 they're taught that they're safe and effective and they save lives, and they're taught the schedule and how to administer it. That's it. Like, literally, guys, we've looked at Stanford's curriculum. We've looked at all sorts of curriculum across the country, like top medical schools, and guess what? It's not there. Like, they're not teaching this stuff at all. And there's a reason, because a doctor takes an oath to do no harm. So these doctors are victims of crimes against humanity through the pharmaceutical industries, and they're pawns. They use doctors as pawns because they need someone to give this crap out, right? They need someone to sell their products, but they can't have those people understanding what their products really are, because those people would be like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of injecting dead babies into other babies. Like, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, that's what it is, guys. The MMR has dead babies in it going into your live baby, and then it's slowly killing your live baby, but you don't even know that. Like, get upset, get so freaking upset about this that it fires you up, that you want to talk about it all the time. And the other thing that I want to talk about is something it's really hard to grasp, and I'm still learning about it because it really emotionally disturbs me. It's called chimerism, I think is how you say the word. But it's basically, think about it this way. There's two cell lines that are used in live vaccines. The MMR is one of them, and there's the WI-38 and the MRC-5. Those are the two aborted fetal lines. I talked about a lot of this the other day on the live that I did about the new HHS Department for Religious and Conscious Freedom. But here's the reality. It's male and female DNA, okay? So I want you guys to think about this for a second. Male and female DNA. We are injecting female DNA into males, and we are injecting males into females. Now, where's the science for that? We have a population of extreme gender confusion, okay? And I'm not here to judge anyone's sexual preferences. That's your deal with your God, and I'm not going to get into that, but I'm coming from a parental standpoint of like, do I want my little boy injected with female DNA? No, I don't want that, and no parent would. Do I want my little girl injected with male DNA? No, hell no. Like, what? Like, are you like, oh my gosh, you guys, when you say this stuff out loud, because this is literally true. This is truth. And I challenge there's 760 people on this feed. I challenge all of you to research this. And if you don't agree with me, don't believe me, go research this. You will be horrified. You will be horrified, because this is all true. 100% true, documented truth that you can pull up, and it's literally right there on these government websites, and you're like, oh my gosh, why is nobody talking about this? This is crazy. This is why I've talked about this stuff for 10 years, because I can't get it out of my mind, because it's so freaking disturbing. Okay, so chimerism is like basically where the body's confused. The body has different DNA now in it, and it's confused, and it doesn't even know what to do with it. This stuff doesn't leave the body. Again, they don't pee it out. They don't poop it out. It's being injected. Your circulatory system is a closed system. It can't get out of the body once it's in. Where is it going to go? Like, you're going to go back in with a syringe and like try to pull it back out? Like, the body, first of all, attacks it because it's foreign substances, it's foreign compounds, it's confusing the heck out of the immune system. It's filled with chemicals and disgusting, vile stuff. And it's got human DNA in it. So it's just, you guys, I don't even know long-term what that does, but the chimerism stuff it's basically where the cells are confused and the actual DNA gets confused and it mutates, like it changes itself. Like, why wouldn't you just want your kid to maybe potentially get measles? They probably never will, but oh my gosh, if they did, big deal, right? Like, doesn't measles now seem like a joke that I just went through all of this? Like, this is all in the MMR, all of it, and it's documented and it's listed and it's in the insert. So now compare that to the fear of measles. How do you feel? I don't know, maybe you're still afraid of measles. Like, if that's you, and then you can be fully informed. So let's go back to informed consent, which I preach from the rooftops all the time because I think it's hugely important, is let's just go back and say, okay, so we're here. There's a possibility in your child's lifetime they might catch measles. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what would happen if you get the measles, and let's talk about what would happen if you get this shot. And then they walk you through everything I just walked you through in this insert. Maybe not as like colorful as I just did, maybe not as passionate about it, but maybe they just blatantly said, like, your child could die, could get diabetes, there's aborted human tissue in it, we don't really know what that's going to do long term to the gender situation, but hey, they might not have measles, or they might get measles the minute I administer this, because this vaccine actually causes measles too, which we just went through that. But hey, your call, parent. Like, you are in charge. You're the boss. I'm going to make a couple $100 if you vaccinate your kids. So I'd really appreciate it if you did, because the insurance companies, they give me a little kickback on my premiums. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I really need you in here on this table to go over all this stuff, because I want to take my family to Hawaii. So it would be, again, guys, I keep getting phone calls because I wasn't going to do a live right now. And so people are trying to get a hold of me. But anyways, go read the insert for yourself and just see how you feel about it. Check your gut. Have a gut check. Have a gut check and have a conversation with your doctor. Actually print this out, highlight the points that are extremely disturbing to you. Now, I want you to print 2 documents. I want you to print on the FDA website. This is where I'm reading this from, fda.gov, and you can pull any vaccine insert. So I want you to print those out. And then I want you to also go to the CDC website. See how I'm only using their websites? This is no anti-vaccine stuff, guys. This is their science. This is their documents, their science, okay? So let's use their resources and pull the FDA insert, and then also go on the CDC website and pull the listed ingredients for the MMR, and I want you to highlight them. Now, you're not going to know it will say like human fibroblast tissues and stuff. It's in some of the documents, it'll show that, but it'll also show WI-38 and MRC-5. Type those into Google, okay, and then you're going to see that those are aborted human cell lines. 1 male, 1 female. The female, I believe, came from a woman that was in a mental institution, so we didn't even get into that craziness. But the other one was a 14-week gestation little boy. So we have female and male. Highlight those and go and talk to your doctor and say, do you know what this is? You want to inject this into my kid, but I did some research because I'm smart and I am an informed parent and I live in the United States of America, which is still a free country. And so I have control over what goes into my body and into my baby. And it is my human right to understand this. And it is your job to explain this to me. What the hell is this? And let them talk. And they're going to go, because they have no idea. Okay. So that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to pull the CDC list of ingredients, and I want you to pull the inserts. I want you to read them yourself. I want you to see how you feel in your gut. I want you to ask yourself, what is scarier? Natural measles that produces lifelong immunity. They'll get it once, they never get it again, or this vaccine. And just think about it. So thanks, guys, for being on. There's hundreds and hundreds of comments. I will have to get back to those at another time. I'll go back and read them tonight. But I love you. Thank you for being on. Be brave. Be smart. Research. Ask questions. Don't listen to pharma. Don't be programmed by fear. Like, do your own due diligence and protect your babies against this nonsense, because parents are going to be the ones that stop this. So God bless. Have a healthy, happy, and free day. Take care, guys.